because it's virtual doesn't mean it's not real. It's just not visible. And so to be in those spaces, to be in those places, and again, even like to look down and go, I am this character. Like it's the best. It's the best costume ever.
Yeah, playing a Lego once for me was just the best one I've had.
What is going on, everybody? Korey here. It's the middle of the day. You know, I usually do my stuff at night. So if I'm doing stuff in the middle of the day, I'm doing it for somebody very special. That means we have another interview coming up. And I'm very excited about this because, you know, all the Toasties out there, you know, our community, they know that my background is originally in animation. And while I haven't done animation or original animation in quite some time, it doesn't mean I'm not interested in it. And I still keep up with all the new things that are happening with animation, not just movies and shows, but also the technology, because after all, it was the technology that taught me that I wasn't as interested in animation as I thought I was before, but brought me right back into it because it made things a whole lot easier, a whole lot more exciting, and just made it a whole lot more available for a lot of talented people out there. And one of the things that is going on right now in animation, there's a new software out there that's being used, and I could tell you about it, but I have the people here who are behind it, and I'm going to let them speak for themselves, and it is pretty exciting. Let me introduce to you, everybody, Gil Baron, who is the CEO of Mindshow, and I have the president, Sharon Bordas, here. Now, did I say your names right?
You did. You did. Check.
Awesome. Okay, well, you know what? That's usually the hardest part of an interview for me.
Cool, so you're done. All right.
Great.
So it's all uphill from here. And guys, again, thank you for being here. A lot of people don't know that we tried to do this before. Speaking of technology, mine sucks. Or at least the service that I had at the time. Everybody knows my problems with Spectrum. I switched over to something else, and now the interview is going a lot more smooth. And these guys were kind enough to actually, impatient enough to deal with that. So let me go ahead and quit talking and let them talk about Mindshow, which I will say before I bring them on is this is software that, you know, if you hear the way it's described, it is going to start to change animation as we see it, especially for the people who make it. It's going to be changing that a lot. This is designed to, it allows animation to be created at the same time as live action pretty much, which as people who do animation know, it's a very time-consuming process. So with this right here, it's actually requiring less time to do, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and that's the idea behind sort of why Mindshow exists, both the software and the company. The software is what we use here to create animation, which is really about, you know, in a live action medium, everyone's around the camera together collaborating. And so what's in front of the camera, what's behind the camera, you have different people in different specialties all working together to make this thing. And with animation, it's a lot of sort of passing the ball from one to another up and downstream. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of get a telephone game in play, but it also makes it so it's harder to actually collaborate in real time or have kind of spontaneous ideas or even to have elasticity to try things. So, you know, we took a look at the sort of pipeline of animation and we're reinventing that so it is more like a live action where we can all be in a shared space together, iterating quickly and finding out what works, what doesn't, what do we want, you know, being able to sort of craft different languages around that. It's really around 3D animation. That's the sort of innovation in the space. You know, 25 years ago, we started having 3D software that let us, you know, sort of peer in through the screen into these virtual worlds. And now we're in a time where now we can actually be inside those virtual worlds.
Very nice. Sharon, did you want to add anything to that?
It's very nice to ask. As a woman in tech, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, you know, my background was for live action production. And so being able to use these sort of virtual worlds, virtual cameras, be in VR headsets, and playing a video game that makes a show, it feels like magic. It's so fun for creatives to be in there doing that. And my job is to bring in creative projects and pair creators with what we've got going. And it's just, everybody has a blast once they get in there and they start to get to make cartoons. They're pretty happy. And I think that it's a space, as you know, that's been a little labored and like not as fun as it should be. So it's pretty great to just bring fun toys to people.
Yeah.
See, this is very exciting to me. This is why I was looking forward to doing this interview so much. I'm very sorry we couldn't do it before, because as I was saying at the beginning of the interview, I grew up loving animation. I wanted to be an animator my whole life. And when I finally got into it, I realized I'm terrible at it. I was.
Yeah, I'm here for the people who can't draw. I'm sure you can draw. I'm sure for that.
You've seen my drawing. So.
Yeah, he can't draw at all.
Well, that's what hurt me so much. I can draw. I just don't like. I just don't like drawing the same thing over and over again, just slightly different. But what made me get interested in because I loved illustration and kept doing it, but really, what really brought me back into animation was it wasn't Adobe at the time. It was Flash, but it was at the time it was Future Splash, and I forgot the company that did it before Adobe acquired it. But anyway, it was Future Splash that brought me into it, because even though it was at the time that we were doing it, it didn't look like the traditional 2D animation that I saw in Disney movies and whatnot. It was still something that I thought was great because it put animation into the hands of young creators. I was young at the time, young creators as myself, without having to spend tons of money, without having to spend a lot of time. And this looks like this is taking this to another level. And what I really find fascinating about this, Sharon, you were saying that when people go in and do this, now it's gone beyond just drawing, or even if you can't draw, just sliding images or slightly manipulating images. People are going in and acting now.
Yeah, I mean, I've got someone in a mocap suit with a crown on, this image that you're showing out right now, acting out that character. Like, they're puppeting these characters, they're playing in there. And that is an experience that's so unique and cool and fun. And they're in a headset, so they are in the worlds. They are being that animated character. And then we can go back and do a bunch of things to make it more specific and creative and the intent of it. But to start from that place of just playing is awesome.
Which is that sort of that's the purest kind of creative flow state. It's like when you get back in that play. In this play mode, it's like, you start drawing, you're doodling, right? And so you're just kind of in the flow of it, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I have to draw every single frame in between those. That's supposed to be work. And so the more you can stay in that play state, especially when you're trying to kind of crack the creative, the more turns of the crank you get, the better the quality of the results and the better the experience. So, that's kind of, coming from a visual effects background, so being in the sort of salt mines of the creation of these things, over time, that software has gotten more and more sort of deep and difficult, and it's become less and less fun. And so the end results are kind of cool, but the process to get there sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, we got into this to have a good time.
Yeah.
All of entertainment. The whole point was to have a good time.
Well, see.
And so I don't want to suffer. I just want to have a good time. So.
Yeah, and see, this is what this looks like. Because what I do right now, when I stop doing animation as much, I'm doing what I do now, which is hosting and doing more live action stuff. And I'm a performer when I do this. And I found out that when I was doing like flash animation, or when I was drawing, when I was just sketching, people laugh at me because I actually perform the things that I'm drawing. If I make
animators do, I mean, that's they're playing around creating those performances. So what are the tools that make that as effortless as possible?
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, the tool stack out of the way so that the actual experience is that. You already know how to do that, right?
And it's few people noting you.
Yeah.
It's little input as possible from other humans. This is what we're also doing.
Well, that's what's brilliant about this software is that there's a lot of things that are brilliant about it, but a lot of people don't understand. They still don't understand that the animators are the performers. Now, the best animators are natural actors. And
they film themselves doing the actions, right? And you look at reference, and even if it's an animal, animated as an animated character, you're looking at reference of those animals. You're looking at the performers who do the voices. You're trying to find the sort of natural visual language of all of those things, emotion. It's all about that. So like, the more you can play with that, the more playful that is, the better it becomes. And,
Or
you know,
yeah, or I guess you could like when you're cutting down a process between animation and voice work. I mean, at this point now we can, maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, but can you film the voice actors now performing more than just standing in front of a mic and then apply the animation to their body work, their motion capture?
yeah, you can, and that's what's become sort of interesting about it is that, as you say, like animators are performers. They're performing sometimes, through like sort of they're channeling the performance rather than just kind of like putting it through their own bodies. But a lot of times, like you said, you're drawing and you're doing it yourself. A lot of voice performers are putting a lot of performance in their face because no one's ever bothered to ask them about what they're doing with the rest of their body or voice. And
Right.
so, we can open that door if it makes sense, and that becomes just kind of a like plus up, right? That just means you can bring more of that person or that persona into the performance, rather than trying to figure that out after the fact, and have more of that spontaneity. Like that's the other thing in animation, traditional drawn animation, sure, keyframe 3D animation as well. Rarely do you get happy accidents, and if you do, you kind of have to kind of like protect them and nurture them because they're off the schedule, the structure.
Yeah.
And, a lot of great things happen when you allow for a little bit of rough and sort of rawness.
Got you. You know that I'm looking at how you're making this more efficient for professionals and studios out there. But is this something? And I think I saw that there was some individuals using this. I mean, is this something that you're creator that doesn't work for a big studio, your creator that is working on like a student's budget? Is this something that they could use?
Well, so it's interesting. So we started, part of our journey was we actually released a consumer app built on the core of this technology. And really the impetus for that was to kind of see what would happen, but to kind of prove the thesis, which was, if you had an interest in 3D animation, but you hadn't spent 20 years learning Maya or Blender or what have you, could you do it? Would you do it? Would you have fun doing it? Is it more joyous? Is it more positive? Is it actually, net sort of increase the experience? And it turned out it did. I think, we actually pulled it from public release because we went and kind of rebuilt the core of it and have really been focusing on the professional level of that. So working with brands and working with, studios to sort of craft animated content, all the while making the engine better, faster. So I would say stay tuned.
Okay, so you can't say anything on the consumer front right now.
There isn't anything available currently on the consumer front. That's correct.
But think about this, like you can now shoot anything on your phone, right? And like that changed the world. So if you could make animation kind of like you can make a YouTube video, like in the future, that's pretty rad. Like that's where we'd like to loop back to.
Is that something that's in the works right now?
Yeah, I mean we're scaling fast. We're making a lot of content and building tools. And the idea is like, again, if I can bring live action people into the space and they can make animation, and the Pro Tool version of that, the more people that have access to it, the more accessible it is, the more we scale that, the bigger group of people that can use it.
Yeah.
And so, animation's been a smaller specialized space, and the idea is to grow that so it's not.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a huge market for this, for people who create YouTube content, people who create even TikTok content. I mean, avatars are huge right now, with people. People are creating they're creating like things that they're thinking forward to the metaverse and things like that right now. And so this is why I'm thinking that something like this is this is the right moment for it at this time.
Well, we've been building these metaverses. I mean, metaverse is such a funny word.
It's such a term.
It's and it's laden, but it's also like it's plural, right? Metaverse is a bunch of interconnected universes, and so we've been building universes, virtual worlds, for a number of years, and really honing on that. And even going back to my days in digital effects, even as I was putting images on top of photographic plates. The way we married those together was to create sort of these inferred virtual worlds. So definitely 100%. I think, like Sharon was saying, the phone, the camera phone in your pocket, which becomes both the capture, the edit, production, and distribution mechanism, right? By the time you connect the iPhone with YouTube, and what that did 20 years ago, if you said anyone could do that, literally anyone, not an 8-year-old, an 80-year-old, like people would laugh at you, right?
Yeah.
And here we are. And so to look forward, that's kind of what we're building for, is like look forward, however many years, to be able to say, like, you want to make video, you want to make animation. Like, you don't have the same sort of mental barrier of, oh, I want to make animation. Okay, what school should I go to?
Here's something that I'm curious about with this. Right now, what you're doing here, you have this video that I've been showing while you guys have been talking. So people who have been watching, they've been seeing these clips right here. But what the clips I've been showing is they're from a property called Enchantimals. Is that it? I'm gonna show just a little bit of this. This is from Mattel, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna show just a little bit of this so people can see this in all of its glory.
Didn't you just love the Snowy Valley Shimmer Snowflake Star Show sunrise? I was so inspired, I took the carriage out to find some shimmer crystals to bring back to the Royal Isle Castle. The only problem is, now I have to move the big pink crystals inside.
So you can see the professional level of production that has gone on into this. But again, it's for another company. It's for Mattel. Will you be producing your own in-house films like Pixar and other animation studios out there?
I mean, right now the whole goal is to partner with cool and interesting people and brands whatever way we can. So for Mattel, they've given us some toy lines to kind of reinvent and do shows. Mm-hmm. And so we're able them creatively for that one and a couple more, which has been great. But we developed like an adult female comedy that we sold into Comedy Central that we're just about to do a pilot for. So driving that creative as well. On a business level, being an entertainment person, I kind of like, you want to build by partnering with excellent talent and learn and make better and better IP and grow that way, instead of being a like all or, Pixar was like kind of an all one guy vision business for a while. We're more about like, how do we pair up with all these different kinds of talent and do different kinds of things so that we can put the tools in multiple hands and see what happens. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a different model.
And it's also like additive or even multiplicative in that way of like empowering people who who maybe had an interest in animation, but they were like, well, I'm a storyteller, not an animator, therefore it's a different world. Being able to bridge that in. We say, yes, actually, we can work together to figure those things out and empower that, which is really exciting because you get to bring, like as Sharon said, like the best talent from one space into another where it seems like the barrier might be really, really high. We can lower that barrier and then we can learn together about what's valuable, what's useful, and what's helpful.
And make things that could get made. Like I'm in development on a project I was talking about today, which is like a big Bollywood musical, animated musical. And in the TV space, and there's really cool talent. It's really interesting, and because of the way we can do it, we can make it in like a TV like manageable budget, and that's something that couldn't have happened without us. And that's just rad. Like to get to be like putting those pieces together, it's just so fun.
Yeah, and everything sort of feeds and makes it the sort of engine better. Like that project, we had a dancer come in and do some dancing, and I believe like the reaction was kind of like, oh my God, I've never been able to see myself this way. It's actually changing how I'm thinking about how I'm dancing and what I'm doing. And so there's this sort of like amazing sort of law of unintended consequences in the positive sense of like you create these surprises where like people who, this is a professional dancer who's been doing this for 20 years, to have them see their own self and work in a different perspective, and then to be able to yes and on that and go, cool, what will I do now that I have that information?
And now I just put 20 cameras in the scene, so let's not do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's virtual, man. I can put as many cameras on it as I want. My DPs are losing their minds. And I'm like, do you have 17 cameras on this? This is a kids' preschool show.
No, they're like, no, it's a Tony Scott movie.
They're like, I need 17 cameras. I'm like, do you for Hot Wheels? Like, or something? Yes, I do. I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't cost anything, so I guess we can do that.
Yeah. I mean, yes, we can.
I mean, you're talking about all the flexibility with this between everything that's being buzzed about right now and all the possibilities with the software. I just got through watching Ready Player One. And when I saw and when I saw that, I was thinking like, man, you know what? This is the closest thing that I saw to getting us there right now. Your software.
Yeah, we've had some thank you, that's very kind. We've had some people, we call it the Mindshow melts. Like people will come in and like they think they get it, and then they get in and do it, and then they're like, oh my god, I'm like, yeah.
And then sometimes like a day or two later, they go, wait, so I just realized we could do this and this.
Right, you can make a show, and then I could go be in the show, and then I could shoot my own version of the show. I'm like, whoa, welcome.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet because as somebody who lived so long seeing worlds on monitors. And to like go into that and be in there, and you're literally making a memory of a place you've been.
Yeah.
It's just because it's virtual doesn't mean it's not real. It's just not physical. And so to be in those spaces, to be in those places, and again, even like to look down and go, I am this character. Like it's the best. It's the best costume ever.
Yeah, playing a Lego once for me was just like it's rad. I'm like, look at my little hands.
And like getting to like, I mean, you see your joy with this, like getting to figure out what to build next. Like that's the other part of it is iterative, it's adaptive. So we keep building and growing and building and growing and learning. And sometimes those are just like sort of fun, almost like tangents. Like we have these virtual worlds. So one of the virtual worlds we have is on the wing of an airplane at 10,000 feet. And it's a cartoon, so it looks kind of like safe, right? Yeah. But you can like walk out on the wing of a plane at 10,000 feet, look down and see the ground scrolling beneath you. And you're like, your brain is going, oh crap. Like don't walk off that. And if you walk off, you won't fall because you're on the ground, but your brain is going, whoa, don't do that. And so, you get this sort of immediate presence that's really, really fun.
As if you got to shoot on the edge of a plane.
Yeah,
nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without having to call anybody or permit it.
Yeah, and then you get out and your hair still looks good. Like it's pretty rad.
This shows such promise. Do you think that other studios, like we already mentioned Pixar, do you think someone like Pixar might adopt this?
I mean, eventually, I think it becomes conceptually a part of kind of every arsenal in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I would say there are some like philosophical considerations in terms of how you make your content. Like your pipeline defines your output, right? So Pixar is famous, and I grew up on Pixar, so it's like one of my beacons. They're famous for they make every movie 5 times. They'll make it on a storyboard, and then they'll throw it away, and they'll make it on a storyboard, and they'll throw it away, and they keep doing that, rinse, lather, repeat, until they find the things. So that's their iterative creative process.
Which clearly works.
Which again yields amazing results. If you introduce something like this, it's kind of tangential, right? So it doesn't necessarily fit into that same pipeline because it's a different way of thinking about it. And we always think about it as like it's not a zero-sum game. It's not like this is the only way to make it. It's just up till now there has been really only one way to make animation. We're inventing and building and growing a new kind. And there'll be a bunch of derivatives that come out of that. I hope it starts to inform other sort of, processes and content itself, like what kind of stuff gets made and why and how and, what good looks like, right? Because same thing is true in 2D animation, right? As an artist, like if I went back in time, like even the first time that you saw The Simpsons on the Tracy Ullman show as an interstitial, people were like, that looks like that does not look like beautiful Disney animation.
Yeah.
And yet it's like the biggest animated thing ever, right? So, you get into this place where it's like
the first time I saw a South Park video, and
I
was, like on a PCR, and I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah, totally. So like as these new things pop up, it just added it, right? It's a different form, just another form of expression.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are experimenting in the game engine space. We sort of have a different approach and a different purpose for it, and a different pipeline for it. So that we have a unique, we also have creative people in house. It's not just like here's a software package. It's like we're producing with you using it. We're just sort of in a different model.
Yeah. Which is the fun collaboration. Like that's the best part. Is again just like how do we take these ideas and these voices and help amplify.
And being a small company, we can go fast. Like those bigger companies, they just have a different mindset and a different way building. So we're like pirates more.
And to that end too, like we have to train and grow our own talent as well. Like even though we've made a process, like it's a different kind of a process and it's an evolving kind of a process. So, it means that, even like if I was to clone myself and bring myself in from the cold, not having done this, I'd be like, wait, you're doing it this way? Like that's a whole different, I got to kind of tool my brain to figure out how to work within that sort of differential pipeline or bringing all the creative up to the front.
Now I got to tell you, everything aside, man, the enthusiasm that you both show for what you're doing, it's amazing. Gets me all excited because I can see you guys are really into it, and that's awesome to see, man. I mean, I interview a lot of people, and I don't have any bad interviews. I've probably had maybe one or two, but it's really nice when you. What's that?
I said we're happy to be your first bad interview.
Yeah, you needed one. Here we are.
Yeah, I was due for a good interview. God damn it! No, no. All of my interviews are good. They're great. They're actually great. But it's extra special when you see the person that you're talking to or the people that you're talking to just be completely giddy into what they're into, which you're putting off that kind of energy right now. It really does. I mean, I wouldn't have to see anything from this. Just hearing you talk about it, you would sell it to me. You would sell me on it just based on your energy right now. So
it's really.
You have $20 million.
10, 5.
10?
No. And it is like we're.
Well, we have a really great group of people. I mean, that's why. Like, we're having a very good time. We're in person in these trying times of pandemic. We're like, we have a crew in house. They're making things. Like, I just walked by someone standing on a ladder pretending to be a dragon. Like, that's a pretty good job.
That's a good
Friday. Like, that's a really good time. Like that is neat. Entertainment in my experience. Like, to be honest, it's not always fun, and this is actually fun, and it's a really good group. There's something I think about having a group of people trying to do something different in a different way, and knowing that there's nothing else like this that has an energy that's what you kind of hope for when you're building a small company. Like
it's so fun to have these moments and really feel like it's sort of first on the moon, and some of them are just small. Some of them are small bits. There was a thing in one of our earlier incarnations where I as soon as we sort of like figured out some of the sort of embodiment mechanics and some of the UX UI, like how you control things, I actually jumped into a character and performed, and then jumped into another character and hugged myself. And I was like,
that's a deep shit.
I'm like, whoa, that's like the first time.
That's hot. That's what
and it's just a little thing, but it's also like the energy and the joy of that, of like looking at a problem going, oh, well, okay, cool. We have to figure that out. And then we figure it out, and it unblocks a whole bunch of other potential. It's just like, I don't know, it's magic. It's like, it's mana,
Yeah. No, that's why I'm looking at that. Cause I'm thinking that, one day I would like it if she was hosting the show, my dog. If she had my voice and was hosting the show right now, but it just looked just like her, that is when that is going to be my first thing I do when I get your software, whenever it becomes available.
I mean, the whole goal is never to have to shower again. Right?
I mean, we're all trying for that, right? Like,
no pants.
They never said, okay, pants are gone. And then Mindshow says, okay, cool, now we don't have to shower anymore.
You put on a headset, you go, baby.
There we go.
I think that's going to the website. Mindshow.
Yes.
Showering.
Yes. No. I just want to talk to people naked without them knowing it, but still be seen very cute.
What happens under the Zoom frame stays under the Zoom frame.
There you go. And for people who are listening, I just pulled up my little Chihuahua Pixie, who I hope to animate her one day and have her do something. But
I heard she was also your executive producer.
She might as well be. She has this thing. Dogs are weird. She likes schedules. She likes routines. So she has to be here on every show. I don't bring her on to show off. She will. If I don't let her in, you will hear her scratch at the door and screaming whenever we do a show. So yeah, that's her thing.
The dog figured out pandemic. They know.
Yeah.
They know that like people cannot go on, and so they have needs, and they're like the Great Resignation, right? Like they're going to advocate for for themselves at
Yeah,
this point.
well, she kind of knows when the show's supposed to be on, so she's actually the one that gets me in here on time. So in a way, she's kind of a producer. I had 3 things I want to ask you guys before this is all done. You were talking about, so Gil, you said something interesting about how it feels cool to feel like you're the first one on the moon. So if you're saying that, that says to me that both of you feel like you're ahead of a lot of things out there right now. And I'm just going to assume that you're kind of ahead on this whole buzzword of the metaverse. A lot of people talking about it, a lot of people, and for people who don't know what the metaverse is, just think of it as virtual reality. Again, think of Ready Player One. We're all in a big virtual world that's all connected. It's the web in the virtual world. So, a lot of people, they're excited about it. There's some other people, they're saying, well, this, again, that's what it is. It's just a buzzword. It's just something that corporations are throwing out there. You two would probably be some of the people who are could say something about the metaverse more than other people out there. What do you feel about this? Is it just a big buzzword right now? Do you see yourselves being a pioneer in that area too?
Yes. So the short answer is yes to both. So people are using it as a buzzword. The thing about the metaverse is that it's plural, it's multiple universes, and it actually already exists. So if you're on Facebook, you're on the Facebook metaverse, even before they renamed themselves Meta. If you were in MySpace, you were in the MySpace metaverse. There are all these sort of pocket content universes, social dynamics that exist as metaverses. And one of the things that I think is happening right now that we're seeing start to crystallize is people are starting to figure out what happens when we start to connect the plumbing between those different universes, right? Or those different metaverses. So we have a Mattel metaverse. That's where we are. Enchantimals, we go in, we're in the world of Enchantimals. We can decide where in the world we want to be and who we want to be in those worlds, but that's a metaverse. So, the once we've gone from this physical place to this sort of digital manifestation of implied space, that's all these metaverses. And so this is the ground floor of that. We're starting to now build the highways between those, the language, the way that one universe can speak to another. That's where you're seeing a lot of activity in the crypto space around like what kind of token, what kind of chain are they on? How are they going to be able to communicate? How are they going to be able to transfer value from one place to another? It's like definitive that it's happening. It's, as all technology, you can kind of make guesses at what you think it will be, but the actual process of creating it will evolve it, and it'll become more than we can even imagine. I think, as we sort of continue to chip away at it and to try and connect all these different pieces.
Yeah, that's how the boys talk about it in house. With the ladies, I'm like, so we're making a show, and it's and it's also a game, and we're in a world, and we're gonna do a lot of different things in there, and it's just gonna evolve and get bigger and bigger. So just don't be scared. It's a buzzword, like whatever. But like the minute I changed the experience in there from a show to a game to back again to making something to exporting it, all of that, when we're in there, that's metaverse. We're already in there. You're already there. It's okay. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah, we're all gonna be okay. We can hold hands.
Yeah, because it gets really like whoosh, and at the same time, it's just like I just walked in there and made something in a virtual world. I'm in the metaverse.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it's kind of the same way like with the with the smartphone. It's like, oh, cool. I got my camera. I got my email. I got all my social apps. I got my GPS. Like I have all this convergence of all of these things that existed in silos that can now I copy paste between them. So
and the corporate angle, as you know, is like how do you monetize it? Like that's what everybody's trying to figure out.
Yeah.
If I own it, then I charge you for shooting that, or redressing that character, or becoming yourself there, or bringing a stormtrooper in, or all the different things you want to do in there. What are the transactions? So I think that also, remembering that layer of that, makes it a little less, abstract.
And then there are a bunch of companies who go, "Oh, that's the hot new buzzword. Cool. We're now the Uber of the metaverse."
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. So yes, there's a lot of buzz and there's a lot of hype, but I think there's also a lot of.
But you've been talking about it for so long.
Yeah.
Like I just joined it like a couple years ago, but like he's already been in there for a while. So now I'm just like I do fun stuff with it and make it so people can be creative together.
Yeah.
Wherever they are, which is even more meaningful now.
Yeah.
Because we're all isolated and weird.
Yeah. So how can we be weird together?
Let's be weird together.
or weirder, or more weirder than we already were, you know.
Next time we'll be doing this meeting with you in our headsets on the set of Enchantimals. We'll just walk around and show.
Yeah, we'll do walk and talk.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll shoot a scene. Maybe we'll watch it.
Pixie will love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be so fun.
I mean, Pixie will be directing at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, you thought she's already directed, man? What are you saying?
Yeah. I'm pulling the strings on this entire experience. That's the metaverse.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I should say to you. You know what? I don't want to talk to you again unless you're a cat or a lizard. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this anymore. This right here.
Oh, I'm gonna double that. I'm gonna be cat lizard.
Yeah,
Cat lizard is coming. You just made that happen.
for sure.
Sorry, universe.
Well, do you see yourselves? Of course, you know I think it's a natural thing to think of yourselves being involved in, you know, productions like movies and TV shows and whatnot, which you already somewhat are. Do you see yourselves selling assets later on? Like, let's just say, you know, we do have people who are creating avatars for their YouTube videos or their TikTok videos, whatever. Do you see yourself maybe taking commissions from people to do custom avatars or selling pre-made, you know, characters for people to slap onto their voices?
Like that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's like when we're creating assets and building out that world, and they have more and more value. And there's the scary NFT word.
Yeah.
You know, I know. Woo, like digital merchandise is going to be the thing. It is.
I mean, it already is the thing. Yeah.
Thing. It's going to become more the thing. So there's a ton of potential, I think, in that.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. Like, you know, all, you know, I'm going to go into a kids these days moment, but like all the kids are on multiple screens.
Yeah.
They're in multiple worlds. You know, my son is on Roblox over here, and he's watching YouTube of a Let's Play of something taking place on the Switch over here. And, you know, like he just mode switches between those things. They're all kind of virtual worlds anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, meanwhile, he's got a window open and he's FaceTiming with two of his friends, and they're all doing the same thing. So this sort of interconnected universe is already starting to play out, and all of those things, again, they're digital. Right?
Nice.
They're just inferred bits, but they have meaning to them. Like, he cares about what level he's on and what unlock he got in Pokemon. That matters to him. You know,
no, that's funny that you mentioned things like Roblox, because while this, you know, you have all these buzzwords going on, people don't realize kids are already in sort of a metaverse. Roblox is, I know they're like trying to make huge steps in that right now, but they already kind of are that in a way.
It's a giant. I mean, it's like
when my 13-year-old went on like eBay to buy a character to put in Roblox of a guy in China, and then I was approving the transaction, and I was like, oh wow, she's like way beyond me on this. She's just doing this.
The kids will eat.
This is just
Oh.
happening. I just bought like some sort of winged unicorn form.
I mean, I usually get mine on Amazon, but like
right. But I was like, I'm interacting with this human from around the world for her to get this for a friend.
and
What are we doing?
Yeah, and that's awesome. And that's like, again, they're like, there are people in there playing stories. There are people in there playing games. They're, you know, you go into Roblox, and it's for the audience who has heard it but doesn't know about it. You go in to Roblox and you choose the game universe you want to play in, and you can dive into that and you play there with your friends, and then you can all go together and go, hey, let's go do this other thing, and then you jump out and you go in. It's kind of like, you know, different rides at the amusement park, but they're in the world.
No,
right?
that's a great way of putting that. You mean your kids must think you're the coolest parents in the world, man.
Oh, please.
My kid does.
Yeah.
She had a friend over the other night, and the two of them were both in VR headsets playing different games while we were waiting for dinner. And I was like, yeah. Let's come to the office.
My daughter's still like, my friend convinced her otherwise. She still keeps thinking that I invented VR.
You keep telling her that.
She did for a number of years, and then I think it became a thing.
Just say yes.
Well, of course I did.
Yeah.
And then I think now it's just she's just playing with it. Of like my dad invented VR. But yeah, I mean the fun thing is they've had access. Then they get access to this technology that starts to, you know, again, it's like adults put the headset on and then they take it off and they're like, wow, I can't believe this exists. And kids do it and they're like, why have you been hiding this from me? Like, go away, old person.
You know, I think my last thing here is I want to take this to a personal level right now, because, you know, your backgrounds are very interesting. You know, Sharon, I think that, so you worked for Disney and Lifetime and Netflix. I'm not sure, but did you Did you work on You?
I did actually. Yeah, I was an executive at Lifetime. We developed that show there that we made with Netflix, and then it ended up having a very big life on Netflix, which I'm very proud of. Yeah.
Now that just makes me even more excited to be talking to you both because, especially you, Sharon, because I love that show, by the way.
Well, that's so great. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like the ultimate, in a way, it's kind of the ultimate vampire story, right? Like it's just like the monster love story, right?
Oh yeah.
And Sarah and obviously Greg Berlanti. I mean, the talent. I was just an executive, so I was just along for the ride.
Yeah. You make me feel like a shitty person because I'm always rooting for this killer to get out of these situations right here, and I shouldn't.
I mean, he's amazing. I mean, and that voice of his, right? I feel like that's what he does. He's able to charm you and make you feel like it's this beautiful world you want to be a part of, even when everything he's saying is just appalling.
Oh yeah. I want to ask you though, because you have such a rich background. If you want to tell us more about that, if you have time, please do. And then can you tell us how this kind of shifted into what you're doing right now?
Yeah, no, I make no sense. I started off as a writer and creative person who didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I ended up, after the sort of writer strike, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and being a TV writer was not completely my jam. And so I ended up building a studio called Mar Vista Entertainment, which was a movie studio. It was a startup, and we were making a couple movies a year. And then we figured out that we could scale that, and we started making up to like 40 movies a year. Now, a lot of them are for TV or international output, but we got to again, it's some of this we got to play. I got to hire a bunch of female directors. I got to do a bunch of stories, made Christmas movies about myself. I just did all kinds of. I had a lot of freedom. To make a lot of content and learn, and not all of it worked. Most of it was maybe not Academy Award winning, but it was a great way to just learn and make a lot of things. And then I made this Lifetime movie that was the ultimate Lifetime movie starring Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig called The Deadly Adoption, which I don't know. It was like this kind of weird cultural phenomenon moment, and it was just a blast. And it was a secret movie that we released with no one knowing it happened. And it was super disruptive. And I was like, I really like things that make noise and are weird and unpredictable. And so then I went to Lifetime. I worked there. They liked me enough to bring me on to do series. I had done that. I was like, that's great. That's a cool opportunity. And I got to make Unreal and You and some really interesting shows. But I really missed a small company. I liked working in a small company. And so when I came to Mindshow, Matt, and I saw this tech, and I was like, what the fuck is that? That is amazing. I'm going to do that. And everybody thought it was a little crazy to go join. They pitched to me as a VR improv animation startup company when I came for the meeting. And I was like, well, I hope lunch is good because that's weird. And I just love it. It's just so fun. It's just so different. And I think for me, as an entertainment human, I've this cross into technology and being around engineers and artists and technical people, I find really challenging and interesting, and learning venture, all of that playground is super fun and something I just try to show up and say yes and just figure it out as I go. But I didn't know anything about rigging 2 years ago. Now I'm talking about rigging.
Yeah.
I know shit. And that is fun.
Outrig the riggers.
No, I can't do that. Janice holding me accountable. But it's I just got to learn new things, and I think that's just such a gift.
No, that's very inspiring to hear that too. I'm gonna tell you, naturally it's inspiring to females and young women and girls out there. But I mean, I'm listening to you and everything that you do, and it just from a creative level, that just sounds like, man, I just want to go out and do as many things as possible. I know I can't, but you do so many things well. You make it.
Look at you! You found another path, and now you're doing this. It's amazing. That is the point to me. Is to keep going. And I often say to my staff, I quote Harry Potter, that no one is coming. You are the solution you're looking for, man. If you want to do something else, just go figure it out. No one's gonna help you. You got to just kind of figure it out. And, so, I mean, most of the time I'm a hot. I don't want to act like I got it together. I don't. But I like trying to figure out and learn new things.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to keep showing up for that. He was already doing that. He's innovating and things. And I've had to learn a lot and catch up.
Well, Gil, you mentioned earlier that you came from an effects background. Now, this is very interesting. You want to tell us about what your background is like?
Yeah, so
Talk about those bullets.
All about those bullets. So yeah, I started. I mean, the long short story. So I saw Star Wars when I was 6, and I said I want to do that. I don't know what it is, but whatever that is, I want to do that. So I kind of always knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't have words for it at that point. And then I just sort of taught myself how to use computers, and eventually the computers caught up in their ability to sort of use 3D. So then I got a job doing broadcast graphic design, like flying logos, which was sort of the entry point, because I wanted to find a Silicon Graphics workstation that I could learn on, because at that time they were like $500,000 and there weren't that many of them. And so at nights I would just kind of like try and figure out what to do. Taught myself how to do that, and then made the jump over into feature films. So I worked on a bunch of feature films, most of them less than noteworthy. And then eventually I joined a group of people working on the first Matrix movie, which at the time was sort of, I mean, it was a throwaway movie, like nobody expected anything from it. And I had gone from being a sequence lead to, I showed up there on day one, and they showed me where my desk was, and I was like, cool, so where's my team? And they were like, ha ha, you're the team. So they had already filmed all the plates. No one's coming. Yes. So they'd already filmed all the plates for the bullet time sequences, but I was then in charge of doing all the 3D for coming up with the bullet wake effects, what those looked like, what those felt like, and then did that for the better part of the year. And then went from there into commercials, which is kind of backwards. Most people go commercials to features. I went from features to commercials because I felt like, oh, okay, we did that. And that was cool, but commercials move at a much faster pace. So instead of 1 minute of content in a year, which is roughly what the Matrix was for me, and it was a good minute of content, but still.
It's a very notable minute.
Yeah, it's a good minute. And then to go into commercials where sometimes you deliver things in like 4 or 6 weeks from start to finish. And so it becomes very nice. So I helped grow a company called Method Studios that at the time was tiny, and it was us against Digital Domain and ILM on sort of as a boutique bidding on these really big commercial jobs, Super Bowl spots, and things like that, and did that for a bunch of years, and helped grow a team there, build a bunch of technology, prototyped and beta tested a bunch of other technology, and eventually the pipeline got so big that I thought, you know what, there might be a better way to do this. So since we were all kind of relentless builders anyway, like that was the thing that drew me into the industry, I think, in the first place, was this painting this canvas of shared dreams by building the things to do that. That's how Mindshow kind of started. It was really a friend of mine at the time, who was one of the co-founders of the company. He showed me an early prototype of a VR headset, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, this is terrible. It was terrible. Like, the first prototype was terrible. It was nauseating. You had pixels. It was just all kinds of bad. But I could see where it would go, which was, oh, instead of me like using a keyboard and a mouse trying to write code to tell the computer what I wanted to do, I can actually be in there moving around, showing the computer what I wanted to do. And that's just magic, you know?
Oh, this is really incredible, man. I mean, this has been both educational. It's been exciting to hear about this. And, maybe it's just, well, I don't mean to be insulting. I just want you to know that, like, I'm really into animation and the technology behind it. So this has been really, really cool for me. I don't know how it is for other people, but, talking this technical about things has been very, very inspiring also. So I just want to congratulate you guys on the success that you're having right now, man, with this. Just one quick last thing, because I am curious about this. Are render times quicker now today with 3D animation like this?
Well, so yes. So broadly speaking, yes. Now, the interesting thing about that is so that was the big block. So like when I started, this is one of those kids these days moments. When I started, we would lay down frames in scan lines to tape. So you could literally watch an image being rendered as it was drawing line by line by line by line by line. And the tape would advance and it would go line by line by line. 1 frame at a time, 24 frames a second, do the math. Now, rendering is a lot faster, but one of the beauties of game engines, and one of the real sort of, again, this is sort of like intersectional technology, VR was made possible because game engine technology that powers all the things you play on your Xbox, PlayStation, what have you, that engine that creates those games allows you to render in real time. And so you can see things in 3 dimensions and you can move them and manipulate them in like literally real time, like we're having a conversation. So the rendering times are improving like exponentially, and they keep getting better, and the quality keeps going up. So, that's one of the, as we look back, I think too, like, even going back to this conversation about the metaverse, like, if you look back at an Atari 2600, you go like no one, it's ironic. You're like, okay, that's fun, but no one is looking at that and going, wow, that's some sweet graphics. But I remember when it went from 2600 to the next gen, the 5200, and you're like, oh my God, we have 16,000 colors to choose from. So it keeps going in those iterations, and it's going to keep getting better and faster. And already we're seeing, between things like deepfake and whatnot, like you can't quite. The technology has gotten to a point where we in many ways can actually almost subvert reality.
I can tell you and I are from the same generation, I think. The way you talk about the 2600 and the 5200, I know exactly what you mean, man.
You're talking about. I just landed here.
Like you started on the PlayStation.
Right, Sharon, sure. Oh, you tender young thing, you. But
baby girl.
Oh, you wee child, you. But hey, guys, I truly cannot wait to see where this goes. I will definitely be keeping up with what you're doing, and
thank you so much.
And hopefully can incorporate it into something that we do someday. But if not, I'm very excited to see where this goes with the technology or with any kind of projects that you do. And I want to thank you for taking the time to do this, especially since the first time didn't work. Again, thank you for coming back.
We're
all in beta, man. And you just keep going, keep trying. So thank you for
next time in the metaverse.
Next time Lizard Cat.
Exact Lizard Cat, yes. And I'll
just look younger.
I'll be talking to you. I'll be talking to you like this.
There's your avatar.
Thanks, Pixie.
Thanks, Pixie. Pixie, thanks for having us on the show.
Yes. Welcome back, Mindshow, everybody. No. Hey, guys, I know you're busy. You got things to do, so I'm going to say goodbye, but thank you once again, sincerely. This meant a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to do it.
Thank you so much.
All right, see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there they go, people. Actually, they're still there. I guess I have to hang up for them. Well, I'm going to get up real quick, and I'm going to cut them off. And I'm going to thank them one more time as I'm walking over. Thank you, guys. And I will see you hopefully again.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there they go. And people here, I come back. Just be patient. Just be patient. And come here, girl. Come here. Where'd you go, mama? I'm sorry that I got to keep putting you down. I'm so sorry. I had to put Pix on the floor to cut the Zoom call off. But hey, guys, once again, I want to thank all of you out there for being here today for this interview. And it's really cool because we have a lot of creative people in our community. And I've been doing this for a while. And sometimes when you do things for a while, you kind of lose your creative insight or your creative enthusiasm. But after an interview like that, my enthusiasm is gone way up, way up. Even outside of hearing just about the animation, just hearing Sharon talk about how when she wanted to do something, she just went for it. She worked in television, and she did some writing, and then she went and worked on movies, and she found her own companies while she did this. And seeing that kind of creative drive and even kind of independence is something that just really it makes me want to go out and create. So I want to thank them for being here, and I hope you felt as excited as I did after hearing Sharon and Gil speak. And let me see here, folks. I could have gone on another hour talking to them about their technology, and I could also go on another hour with you, but we got to get out of here. But we'll definitely get back together with another interview with some very interesting people, like we always do. But until then, as always, I tell you all the time, don't you dare feel like you cannot talk to me at any time, because you can, day and night. And if I'm not around to take a call from you, or I'm not calling you myself, you can always get on the computer. You can always get on the internet and type in kcoolmans@gmail.com. That's KCOOLMANZ@gmail.com. And you email us with any kind of questions, comments, compliments, insults, input, and/or advice. Hit us up on the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just copy that information down right there. Memorize it, love it, but most importantly, use it. And folks, I know a lot of you want to come to Austin and hang out, and we would love for you to do that. But we would love it even more if you let us know ahead of time what you're doing so that we can prepare some time for you ourselves. If you want to do that, email us, kcoolmans@gmail.com. Let us know what your plans are for Austin, whether you are moving here or just passing through, because you know if you give us enough notice and we have enough time, and we'll make that time for you, we would like to hang out with you. All right, everybody, that is it. I want to thank you again for watching the interview, joining me today. It's always a pleasure, always fun, and there will always be another one. So until then, good night, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to or you happen to be watching this, goodbye and stay toasty.